Good evening to you. I am Zondo, and in terms of sport, we are starting things off with basketball. Now, the sport has a long history with the continent of Africa, and the game has been on a steady rise in South Africa. Today, we are looking at the ever-growing Basketball Africa League and the development of the sport in our country. To help with this conversation, we are joined in studio by Tsakane, Ngobeni and Monwabisi, Dlamini, representing Gauteng Basketball. A very good evening to you, both gentlemen. I'm going to start off by saying Happy Youth Day. Maybe let's just start things off by saying, what does this mean essentially, in terms of Youth Day and basketball specifically?
So once again, Happy Youth Day to you and the viewers. Thanks for having us here. So basically for us within the basketball community, but specifically from Soweto, this day is a huge one for us because basically we host one of the biggest tournaments around this time of the year, which is in commemoration of this historic time of the year. So we obviously do this in Soweto, which is where we get all the best teams coming in from all over the country to come and play and basically celebrate this time of the year with us.
All right. So, Tsakane, then in terms of structures in the country, do we have them across all metros? Is this a sport that is really growing in South Africa?
It's a yes and no question.
Okay.
So, no, the structures are there. They're not functioning at optimum capacity, giving us what we need. But the one structure that our kids that we work with look forward to is the Junior NBA, which is currently playing. There's a Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. In the north, the kids are playing. It's about 30 teams, boys and girls. And then the south of Soweto, which we are on the board of it, just making sure that it happens. Kids are playing every Saturday. And the beauty of the tournament that Monwabisi just spoke about today is that we started with a camp, a junior NBA camp, where we had over 400 kids learning the skills, the basic skills of how to play basketball, followed by games. So yes, the structures are there, and actually it's a yes.
Yeah.
And we are growing it and building the culture. And what I like is that what Coach Mo often does is, someone did it for us. We are doing it for the next generation.
Yeah.
So when we talk about these kids, what age groups are we looking at? Is it both young girls and boys?
So basically we start at the early age of 7. So you've got kids who, that's what the rest of the world is doing, and it's something that we've picked up and we're trying our best to do. So from 7 all the way to 18. But basically we start them young, and that's the only working formula that's working everywhere else in the world.
And a big question will always be about facilities, especially in the sport. How is it looking so far? Are we at the level that is competitive, when we look at other opponents, especially on the continent?
When it comes to facilities, South Africa can always compete with world-class places. Right now, we are in Klipspruit, Soweto, right behind the Nike Center, right? We've got 3 courts there. Saturday, we've got, over 21 games playing for kids. Small kids, that is. And then as we grow over, it will be Saturday, Sunday. But right now, we're still in our infant stage, and it's looking very promising. Kids are playing, kids are excited. Parents are supporting their kids, which we never really have seen in the past. Yeah. But we've got parents cheering, and it's just encouraging, and to see the text from the parents, thank you for what you're doing for our kids. The kids are having fun. And can we get more pictures, because the parents are there? So we're asking the parents for pictures. So I'm loving it, because there's just this nice, raw, authentic energy of parents supporting their kids because we've given the opportunity to come do that.
And, it's always a good idea to have young kids getting into the sport from a young age, competing competitively. But the question is, are they at the stage, in terms of a sport where they can make this lucrative, or is it still very much a passion-driven sport? Or can these young kids dream of a life where they can actually live off basketball and look after their families playing the sport?
No, I definitely think so. We're still working towards it really being lucrative. But what we've seen here, actually, I have a kid from Soweto who was fortunate enough to play in the Professional League, where she's getting paid. And this is a kid who's doing grade 12. So it was something, with parents from the township seeing that happen, with a kid who literally started from the ground and got herself, and she's now in university through a basketball scholarship. So what I love about sports in general is that it might not directly take you to the promised land, but it can give you resources such as education, free education that is, that can take kids to the promised land. So far, it's slowly getting there, but it's really promising.
And for a team like the Cape Town Tigers, they did really well in the Basketball Africa League. But when are we going to get to the stage where we are really like competitive on the continent, you know, walking away with such accolades? Because they came close, but not quite reaching that final destination.
It's a process, and you start with winning, which is what the Cape Town Tigers did. Normally we go up to those competitions as South Africa and we participate. We get a participation medal. Hey, thanks for coming. See you next time. But we actually went out there as South Africa, and the whole basketball community was behind the Cape Town Tigers, and we're like, you guys can do it, because we all have got 7 degrees, not even 7 degrees, 2 degrees of separation with every player on that team. And we're like, guys, you can do it. You can win. We've got your back. And they have now given us the blueprint to say, this is how you win in the continent. So it is now for every individual athlete, because basketball is a team sport, but before you get to team, you need to have your personal best. Every individual athlete needs to put in the time and effort to be at their best. Therefore, your team can get better. We can't expect government, everyone else to bring you the opportunity. Have the skill set and then say, we can go there, and that's when they'll support you. And that culture of basketball and that mind state has occurred, and it's carrying on. So we are en route to being good to great. So it's a process. We are trusting the process right now.
And just to talk about that process, you know, as we give the parting shots, what do we then need to do to elevate the sport? You know, is it maybe having high school tournaments, varsity tournaments, you know, making sure that there is more active participation? What exactly needs to happen so that we can find basketball as one of the popular sports like soccer, cricket? You know, where do we get to that point where we can even compare it to the rugbys of the world?
I think basically the only thing for me is consistency.
Okay. If
we just stay consistent, then half of the job is done. Because what you find is that what makes many of the sports popular, especially at like high school level, is because they're just consistent. We do have the talent. We do have the facilities. We have everything we need. We just need to remain consistent.
That is it, consistency. And all the other sports you mentioned, they've got old boys, right? Guys who plow back into the sport. We are now that generation of old boys where guys are coming back, plowing back into the sport, seeing what's needed, and then not only saying, oh, okay, that's nice, but guys who actually take action and ensure that it happens and it moves forward. So a culture of success and pushing for the next step.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much to Tsakane, Ngobeni and Monwabisi, Dlamini, who are, of course, representing the Gauteng Basketball. We'll leave it there for now from the Sports Desk.